The United Nations is raising also concerns about potential ethnic cleansing in the occupied Palestinian territories. A new report says Israel's conduct during the war on Gaza and its military crackdown in the occupied West Bank appears to be aimed at permanently displacing the population. Now, in Gaza, investigators found Israeli forces intensify their assault through 2025 in a campaign that appeared to be aimed at a permanent demographic shift. Entire neighborhoods were methodically destroyed, and then humanitarian aid was blocked with the apparent aim of forcing people to leave. In the last 12 months, covered by the report, it says that Israel's blocking of humanitarian aid caused many people to starve to death. At least 463, including 157 children, died of hunger. In the occupied West Bank, UN investigators highlighted what they called a systematic use of unlawful force. Israeli troops and settlers forced Palestinians from their land, raising serious concerns of ethnic cleansing. Unlawful demolitions ensured many had no homes to return to. And all these violations of international human rights law took place in a climate of impunity. The report says that many of the atrocities could constitute war crimes, but the perpetrators acted with confidence that there'd be no consequences to their actions. Well, joining us now is Francesca Albanese. She's the UN's Special Rapporteur on the Occupied Palestinian Territories, and she joins us live from Tunis. And from Rehovot in Israel, we have Ofer Cassif. He is a member of the Israeli Knesset, and he represents the Hadash-Ta'al faction there. Warm welcome to you both. Francesca, let me start off with you. What is different in this report to the ones that you've seen before? We've been through a lot of this, and Israel has been accused of ethnic cleansing and crimes against humanity.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I find that this report particularly important because different than the others that the High Commissioner has produced, which of course strive for good quality and accuracy of the information, this one contains an analysis of the overarching context, and it speaks of permanent displacement, of permanent demographic shift in the context of rampant impunity, considering what I've called in my genocide report the totality of conduct against the totality of the people as such, in the totality of the land that, as the report recognizes, Israel slates for ethnic cleansing. What struck me more of this report is something that the High Commissioner Volker Turk said himself: impunity is not abstract, it kills. And it's what we see. It's not just the violent actions, and Honorable Cassif will mention this because he sees this on an everyday basis. It's the climate of impunity. And also, speaking in connection with what's going on right now in Washington, the Office of the High Commissioner says justice for victims might lay the foundation for the reconstruction of Gaza. And I think that this is what all the human rights community in the UN, independent experts, and outside the UN, we all recognize ourselves in.
Ofer, to you now. I mean, you've seen these dreadful images of what's been happening in Gaza, but how well informed is the Israeli public about the actions of their armed forces and indeed what perhaps these war aims were ultimately?
Well, as you know, until now, although the so-called ceasefire, although I have to emphasize that this is probably the most deadly ceasefire that we've ever witnessed in the history of the world, but nevertheless, even up till now, we know that journalists are not allowed to enter Gaza, probably because the government of Israel has a lot to hide, and let alone what has been happening there throughout the genocide in the last 2 years and more. So most of the people in Israel do not have any idea about the truth in Gaza. And unfortunately, some of the Israelis do not even want to know the truth, because who wants to see a villain in the mirror? That's the main thing here. And that's one of the main reasons that it was made so easy on many Israelis to defy our screams against the genocide and the war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza. People don't want to see, people don't want to know. Some of them do not know really. And that's part of the genocide, you know. And another thing I have to say is that alongside the genocide in Gaza and the ethnic cleansing in the West Bank, and this is another thing that we must emphasize, and of course this report emphasizes that under the smokescreen of the genocide in Gaza, there's been an ethnic cleansing going on in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem. And that I saw with my bare eyes because I visit the West Bank very often. And but within Israel, too, we have to emphasize that there is a fascist regime now because we've been silenced. As a member of the Knesset, which as a member of the Knesset, I'm much more lucky. I'm luckier than other so-called common citizens because I have immunity. And although I have the immunity, I've been suspended from the Knesset in the last 2 years, altogether for 10 months because I cried out loud against the genocide, the ethnic cleansing, and I was silenced partly by being sanctioned by the so-called ethics committee of the Knesset. And as I said, I've been suspended for 10 months. And this is just the tip of the iceberg for other citizens who do not enjoy the immunity that I have. They are not so lucky, so to speak. Some of them were arrested and they fired from the workplaces or kicked out from their universities solely because they spoke against the genocide and the ethnic cleansing. So those three, this, unholy trinity of genocide in Gaza, ethnic cleansing in the West Bank and in part of Israel itself, and fascism that runs rampant within Israel, all those are connected. And this report is much too too late and said too little, although it's better than ever.
To Francesca, legally speaking, okay, we talk about impunity, which means that nothing can really be happening here. But is there any legal recourse or recourse of any form, really?
First of all, allow me to connect to what Ofer was saying. It's too little, too late. In a way, yes, because we have been documenting genocide, me, the Commission of Inquiry, Israeli scholars, B'Tselem, Breaking the Silence, PCHR, Al-Haq, Palestinian, Israeli organizations, and Amnesty International. Really, what else is to be said? The 2-year finding, or the 2-year study resulting in findings that Israel is committing genocide by the Commission of Inquiry is the closest thing a judicial assessment, falling short of a judicial assessment. So after this, what this report adds is the word ethnic cleansing, which for me is the reason why Israel is committing genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes. Israel, this government, supported by a substantive component of the Israeli society, some segments of the Israeli society, particularly at the institutional level, are pursuing the cleansing of Palestine, of Palestinians in Palestine. How does it lead to peace? It doesn't. And what are the recourses against this? They're failing because, let's say, the international community has non-derogable peremptory obligations to stop Israel, to stop selling weapons, transferring funds, finances, trading with Israel. It's an obligation, it's not an opinion, and they're failing. Not only they're failing, many states are also crashing fundamental freedoms of expression, of association of their own citizens to protect Israel. And you know what's the common trait here? What's the lesson learned? It's the Israelization of Western societies. Israel is taken as an example of liberal democracies where a few people vote. The majority doesn't, because those in the occupation do not vote, but the majority of the people are under a brutal regime of domination and apartheid. And this is fine with many so-called Western democracies.
Ofer, okay, is there anything which can be done in Israeli courts about this, or has the whole body politic of Israeli society changed after this war?
I still believe in domestic struggle, and that's the reason that we've been trying to pursue it. We succeeded. When I say we, I refer to my political party, the Communist Party, and the Democratic Front for Peace and Equality, which is a coalition around the Communist Party. We succeeded to form almost 2 years ago with another no less than 70 organizations, human rights organizations, anti-genocide, anti-racism, feminist organizations, etc., the Peace Partnership. This is a kind of an umbrella organization. We've been succeeding in organizing demonstrations, petitions, and to struggle against the ongoing genocide and ethnic cleansing. But we do need the international community on our side. The struggle should be a combination of local or domestic struggle that we pursue with all the difficulties, and we know that we face difficulties, including physical violence and threats and death threats. And I must say that the political assassination within Israel of one of us, perish the thought, is just around the corner. So don't be surprised if that comes very soon. But we need to attach to this struggle the international community. The report says very clearly, and I can quote, that all states should cease the sale, transfer, and diversion of arms, munitions, and other military equipment to Israel, etc., etc. And I support it because that's the interest not only of Palestinians, but I must say of Israelis too. You know, as opposed to those who accuse me and my comrades in being anti-Israeli, we are not anti-Israeli. We believe in universal justice. And universal justice, by definition, should serve everybody, Israelis, Palestinians, and others, the whole world, all human race. Our struggle is for humanity. Palestinians are also humans. And that's one of the main problems, that those, so to speak, ex-colonizers still think like colonizers. And because of that, they refer to the Palestinians as if they were not human beings or subhumans. That should stop. If I may, if you give me 1 second, please to speak for my heart. My people, including my family, were butchered 85 years ago, and the world was silent. It happens again. That's unacceptable, to say the least. That's shocking. That should move anyone who has any kind of basic human conscience. That's unacceptable, and that's unbelievable as well.
Francesca, do you hold out any optimism, any hope here? And if so, where's it coming from?
Yeah, I agree with everything I've heard, but one thing, this moment is different, because in my lifetime, I've seen other genocides happening, the genocide in Rwanda, the genocide in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and no other genocide has caused a mobilization similar to what Palestine, what has happened in Gaza, has created around the world. The thing is that we need much more than street demonstrations. We need to change this system that has allowed the genocide to fester, that has given which has given impunity the possibility to become widespread and systemic. And for this, we need to embrace a form of Palestinian resistance, a form of Palestinian sumud, steadfastness. And I think that the best expression is the BDS movement, calling for boycott of Israeli products, and products, not just Israeli products, European, Westerner, US products, or even some Arab countries produce goods in connection with the occupation. Well, these products should be boycotted. These businesses should be pushed to divest from the legality of the occupation and the system into getting into this. And eventually, we need to continue to push for justice. And I agree with Ofer, there should be a mix of actions at the domestic level, at the international level. We are part of a global movement which wants the application of international law, which wants freedom and economic social justice for all, and a truly decolonized multilateralism. This is what, from Palestine to
Francesca.
everywhere, this is what this movement might be standing for.
Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur on the Occupied Palestinian Territories, and Ofer Cassif, a member of the Knesset for the Hadash-Ta'al party. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news, expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.